It is the 1st of December officially. Yeah, but I'm not going to tell you Merry Christmas. It's uncomfortable. We can't start the show by me telling you Merry Christmas. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say it's 1st of December. So now it's, what, 3 weeks to Christmas? Yeah, for those who would travel, start making those preparations a bit early. Hopefully your employers are going to give you the Christmas check. If you're lucky. Guys who work for good companies, got a couple of friends who were telling me that there's a percentage that is already agreed by the employers. You get what, like 15% of your salary goes directly into your holidays paycheck. And those are good companies. They're the ones that you should be aspiring to work for. All right? For those who value Christmas, yes. So you go do you. I'm not going to say happy Merry Christmas. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't celebrate Christmas. I celebrate New Year. All right. So it's 1st of December, 2025. Thank you very much for choosing to begin your fast or your new month, yes, with us right here at Look Up TV. We have a jam-packed session for you today. What we're going to do is look back at the results of the by-elections 2025. Remember, we've had conversations around them. The question that we're asking this morning is, what trends are we picking from those results? And if indeed they are going to make the patterns that we're going to observe come 2027. Also today, this is the World HIV Day, if you do know what that is. So a couple of numbers that I'm going to give you this morning so that you understand exactly where we are in terms of HIV prevalence in the country. Now, let's look at where we are. Nairobi County is leading with our HIV infections, 3,045 to be exact. Migori, 1,572. Kisumu, 1,341. Homa Bay, 1,180. Busia, 886. Siaya, 873. Kakamega, 835. I mean, if you go by what I've read here this morning, then you will see that other than Nairobi, then the Lake Basin region of the country, that is all the way from Migori to Siaya, they're the ones that are leading in infections. All right, we cross over to Kakamega, 835, Nakuru, 819, Mombasa, 817, Bungoma, 679. Those are the leading regions in the country and counties when it comes to those infections. Now, let's talk about the national data. Our prevalence is at 3%. That translates to a whopping 1,326,336 cases in the country that are actively living with HIV and AIDS. Yeah. Now, new infections. We've got to look at this data again. Something that it reveals. If you look at the new infections, the age brackets that are leading in that, they're all young people. All these new infections that we're talking about here are for those Kenyans aged between 15 and 34 years of age. Ooh, means the young people are not protecting themselves. I mean, there are different ways that you can get infected by HIV and AIDS, but this one here, that the young people in this country, age 15 to 34, are the ones who are leading in it. It shows you that indeed the young people have not heeded to the messages of protecting themselves, and it's really important that if you're listening to us this morning as a young person aged between the age of 15 to 34, as we start a new month, as we get close to finishing this year, taking care of yourself so that you're not infected by HIV and AIDS is really something that you have to carry by yourselves. Yeah, because these numbers, they do not look good at all for any other person who's watching them at a close look. Fantastic. So that's exactly how it looked, and I do hope that you did celebrate. You know, when they say celebrating the day, there's no good words. I hope you did mark the day by getting tested, and we know how it is. You can get tested today, and then you turn out to be negative. So what you gotta do is wait for 3 months again and go back and get tested. Within that period, you really have to protect yourself. Do not have unprotected sex. Do not, share needles and sharp materials up to the point that the window then closes. That's the 3 months window. Go get tested. That's when you can come out and say, indeed, I am as clean as they come. All right? That's a good message to mark that day then. Now, this morning, again, there's just a lot of trending issues that we're going to look at this morning. I'm going to avoid football. It's not a thing that we talk about. But before we get there, let's jump into our daily this morning. Look at exactly what it is that you're waking up to this morning. As usual, we're going to start with the Daily Nation this morning. And this is part of the stories that we're going to talk about this morning on our big conversation. They're talking about by-elections fallout, with our topic being also what the by-elections trends are the ones that are going to lead us into the 2027 general election. So much that has gone here. It looks as if leaders across the country are realigning themselves for 2027, going by the by-election campaigns and trends. Good, all results. Double standards. Top politicians who backed rival candidates in the just concluded by-elections are facing disciplinary action, including potential removal from party and parliamentary leadership positions. Sources in the broad-based government team of Kenya Kwanza and ODM reveal plans to reorganize parliamentary leadership to reflect the current political realignment. But to what extent? Because even this morning, we do have members who are within the broad-based government who are saying, well, this is all that the broad-based government agreement was supposed to take us to 2027, not beyond 2027. So would this be justified? Well, I've got a couple of leaders here, as you can see from this analysis of the Daily Nation. ODM, Kitutu Chache South, Member of Parliament Anthony Kibagendi backed candidates from Dr. Matiang'i's UDA's party, UPA party. All right. Saboti, Member of Parliament Caleb Amisi supported candidates of DAPK in recent by-elections in Western. Homa Bay Deputy Governor Oyugi Magwanga went against his boss in Kasipul parliamentary race. ODM Kitutu Masaba, Member of Parliament Clive Ombane supported MCA candidates of Dr. Matiang'i's party in recent polls. If you look at UDA, Kakamega Senator Boni Khalwale backed DAPK man in Malava, says he is his friend and brother. UDA, Nyali Member of Parliament Ali backed DCP candidate in the Magarini by-election. Fort Kenya, Kabuchai Member of Parliament Majimbo Kalasinga supported independent MCA candidate in his constituency. And then finally, DAPK, Kakamega Deputy Governor Ayub Savula rooted for UDA candidate in Malava by-election. Now, that's just a snapshot of the so-called fallout, and I'm putting it in quotes because this is the analysis then of the Daily Nation this morning. And you can see that candidates within the broad-based parties decided to choose whomever candidates that they felt fit to support. Good. Other than that, we're going to talk about majority of the stories this morning at Look Up TV across all your social media platforms. If you want to contribute as well, we are live across all those platforms as well. Story here on paradox of jobless PhD holders. Now, Kenya produces approximately 300 to 400 PhD graduates every year against a national target of at least 1,000. But then it's revealed that even as we are producing these PhD holders, majority of them are jobless. Now, while advanced education is often hailed as a path to opportunity, for many of the country's most educated citizens, it has instead become a journey into uncertainty. Behind every PhD certificate lies years of sacrifice, long nights, financial strain, and immense dedication. Yet, instead of leading research and policy, many of Kenya's scholars are trapped in cycles of part-time teaching and paid consultancies and or total joblessness. All right, there's a silent crisis among PhD holders, a paradox that few are willing to confront. That's it. That story has been covered on page 3. Talk about the state of employment in the country. There's a story here on Southeast Asia storm. Deaths that has hit 600 as 4 million are affected in heavy rains that continue to pound that region. That story has been covered on page 18. There's a saga here for WorldCoin, how Kenyans Iris scans ended up in Germany, page 2 as well. You do remember that trending story of how the people behind WorldCoin came here and were promising good payouts to any other person who would be interested to have their iris scanned. Seemingly, as it stands out, it looks as if their scans have ended all the way in Germany. That story has been covered on page 2. Let's cross over to the Standard this morning, see what you're waking up to as well. There's a story here. They're talking about how a scam is loading. Yes? And they're saying another SHA ripoff. For 21 years, a disputed 23-acre plot in Karen has swallowed billions for a hospital that exists only on paper, despite an active court fight, forged documents, and unanswered ownership claims. The Social Health Authority now wants another 50 million for a fence around the land the state may not even own, thus keeping a ghost project alive at staggering public cost. That story has been covered on page 4 and 5. Looks as if SHA is not getting out of the headlines. Yeah, a 23-acre plot in Karen, currently as it is. How much would that cost? It actually goes into billions. Yeah, and that for 21 years, you and I have been paying for this parcel of land, and the government will not even own it. There's even forged documents in conversation as pertains this land, and this is what the SHA CEO is saying. The authority has secured a budget of 50 million to help in fencing the plot, even as it awaits the conclusion of an ownership dispute. DCI requested NHIF to surrender the original titles for purposes of investigation. Now, the current status of the matter indicates that the criminal matter is still ongoing. All right, another quote here by Peter David Loparako, he's saying there is no government agency that has not investigated this matter, from the DCI, National Land Commission, Ministry of Lands. I have lived here for more than 40 years. As far as I'm concerned, there is no dispute. The land is occupied by me and the title deed is in my name. That is the owner of that property, who's saying the government has nothing to do with this piece of land. I mean, that saga goes on. While it goes on, you and I are paying for every bit of that process. Talk about Kenya's state of doing things. Yeah, that's how it is. Good. On that note, let's then see exactly what is trending online this morning as we wake up to this new month. I see a lot of trends here this morning, and I'm going to pick some videos that will show you exactly where we are. I know Kariobangi is trending. We do know why it's trending. I'll be showing you a couple of those pictures so you can have a look at them. We're going to start with we're gonna start with some of the trends that we have this morning. I don't know whether we are ready with Kariobangi as opposed to this one for Rigathi, as we're going to use it later on in our conversation. I know it's trending, but there's a clip here of Member of Parliament, allegedly, Anthony Kibagendi, was caught on CCTV in a Kisii restaurant altercation. All right? It looks as if Kitutu Chache, South Member of Parliament, Anthony Kibagendi, confronted 36-year-old Enoch Omariba Muriasi during his breakfast, leading to a brief scuffle captured on CCTV. Muriasi reported the incident to Kisii Central Police Station that day, obtained a P3 form for his injuries, including an injured leg, and questioned the lack of police action despite the evidence. Some accounts tie the clash to Muriasi's online criticism of the Member of Parliament, who has not commented and remains free as his lawyers demand justice. The episode raises questions about how leaders respond to public criticism. There is, when you can look at those pictures, that is at the Member of Parliament, Kibagendi right there. That's in a Kisii restaurant where these images are coming from, and you can see Muriasi seeking protection or cover from the other gentleman who looks like he could have walked in with Kibagendi. There it is, and you can see he's still assaulting him, and Muriasi is, for lack of a better word, quite chilled in that altercation, and you can see that he's not fought back. He's just trying to get out of the situation and calm things down. And Kibagendi continues with the assault, and right there before then is walked out of the restaurant. It's not good for Member of Parliament, yeah, to be seen in this situation, yeah. But it's not good. All right. Masinaiku saying this Member of Parliament is an idiot. Is indeed the one who tried to fight Duale. Yes, he didn't try to fight him. They had an altercation in that Senate, in that parliamentary committee hearing of the state of affairs in SHA or health, as you would like to say. All right. Councillor X was saying we could be having another by-election if this was me. I don't want to start interpreting what you meant there, Councillor X. Story here. This is Okello who's saying this is grossly wrong. I admire the patience of that man Muriasi. He could have met his match in return. All right. Finally, then Abdul Nasser was saying this morning this is uncalled for. No matter what, violence should never be a tool to counter criticism or ideological differences. Few politicians in Kenya can stand criticism. Very unmannered behavior. Indeed, I do agree. All right. As one of the leaders of a region I come from, I do not support what's going on in this particular clip. It doesn't look good. All right. On that note, then, let's cross over to other events that happened this weekend. And this is coming from Kariobangi, where we did witness members of a church where one Rick G was addressing tear gassed in Kariobangi this weekend. And the picture that we have this morning really do not look good, because I don't know whether we have it. Not this one. Do you have the one where members with Mumelania. That's exactly what we've seen here. Yeah. Part 2 saying regarding Gachagua, chaos, tear gas at the altar. Police reportedly fired tear gas inside PCA Kariobangi North Church during a service attended by Rigathi Gachagua. Politics aside, a church deserves respect. Every Kenyan has the right to worship and exercise their freedoms. Now, let's confront the real questions that demand answers. What triggered the chaos as Gachagua attended the Kariobangi service? Whatever groups involved? Why did the police deploy tear gas? Those are questions the majority of Kenyans are really trying to answer this morning. Because if you look at those pictures, the pictures are not good. It's just kids who are crying, and that church service cut short. Yeah. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. Regardless of the state, I've got press statement here from the Office of the Inspector General, National Police Service, who's responded to this, who's saying that the National Police Service acknowledged a regrettable incident that occurred earlier yesterday at Kariobangi North PCA Church and wishes to issue the following clarification: that a celebratory and Thanksgiving service was being held for successful ward candidate following the recent by-election. Towards the end of the service, 2 police officers on security duty noted a large group of rowdy youth armed with crude weapons attempting to force their way into the church. The 2 officers promptly called for reinforcements. Goes all the way to talking about how another group of youth approached the scene, apparently to confront the first group. Police moved in quickly to quell the escalating situation, which regrettably, according to the police service, then spilled into the church, temporarily disrupting the service. That's how it is. Yeah? And they're asking that if you witnessed this altercation, you come forward and contact the nearest police station. All right? That's what they're saying this morning. All right, good. On that note then, let's look at some of the other issues that are trending this morning. And we do have the family of Burial Achieng, that is sister to Raila Amolo Odinga, were calling for financial help just to get the family to get the burial preparations for their sister underway. A lot of responses here from Kenyans on this particular issue, and we're not going to get into that as well, because I see majority of the issues that are getting spoken about here are just Kenyans questioning the state of Raila Odinga's family after the demise of the former Prime Minister, as majority of them are asking questions as to why the family is not able then to continue with the funeral preparations, despite the position that family holds across the country. Yeah, do you agree? It's a question that I'm just asking you this morning. They can help us understand as well. Also, see some of the questions here that majority of Kenyans are asking is that the brother of Odinga was seen attending a wedding ceremony this weekend while the family is grieving. Not me to question. It's just Anthony was talking about that this morning. Yeah. It is what it is, man. Yes, well wishes. If you really want to help that family, then find a way to get in touch so that Raila Amolo Odinga's sister's burial preparations can be done. That's it. Also, other trends this morning that I don't want to talk about. I mean, Chelsea and Arsenal are playing this weekend, and I see majority of you are talking about it. Here's my 2 cents about it. It was the best game of the season. Yeah, in whatever way. I mean, props to Chelsea, because even after you went 10 men, you refused to let Arsenal beat you. But also props to Arsenal, because I mean, we didn't listen. I'm not a full pundit, but there are places you don't mess up with. Defense. Unfortunately, we lost Saliba after losing Gabriel Magalhaes as well. You'd expect, you can't lose the two of them. I mean, they give you the stability that you need at the back, right? And that did not happen. But anyway, as things stand, we're still top of the table. Chelsea still 6 points adrift Arsenal. The next competitor is just 5 points away. That said, I'm not going to say so much about it. Saliba got a knock, all right? If you didn't watch the game, Moses Caicedo is going to miss the next 3 games because his yellow card was overturned and was given a straight red card for his challenge on our goal scorer. Yeah, but then he pretended that he was injured because he knew exactly what he had done. There was no absolute contact on Moses Caicedo, all right? But Maresca, man, you don't tell your players to come play out like that because as you could see, well, we also didn't play well. But if you saw the way that we were playing, for us, we weren't sure. No wonder we got those fouls. But Chelsea just decided Arsenal is not going to score. We're going to disrupt their game, and you successfully did that. But it is what it is, you know. It's football, and football is a game of chances. You didn't take your chances. We didn't take our chances. 50-50 at the end of the day. Guess what? We go next. Let's see who clears top come March next year. It is what it is. All right. Those are some of the issues that we're going to talk about this morning. But then most importantly then, let's look at exactly where our talking points are going to come this morning. If you look at the by-election results, I'll give you a short summary. This is where we are. If you look at UDA, some of the positions, the one that represented Vincent Chemitai, who won the Senate seat in Baringo, Leonard Leo Wamudvende, who won the Mbere North parliamentary seat, David Ndangwa, sometimes Dakwa, all right, who won the Malava parliamentary seat, Hamed Malim Hassan won the Banisa parliamentary seat. UDA also picked multiple county assembly ward seats across various counties, including in the northern and rural areas. ODM, Boyd won the Kasipul parliamentary seat. Moses Omondi won the Ugunja parliamentary seat. Harrison Kombe won the Magarini parliamentary seat. All right. Others really mixed in independents and independent candidate. Eric Wekesa won the MCA seat in Kabuchai. All right, or the Chwele ward, showing room for non-mainstream winners as well. Now, what was the overall pattern that we did watch from here? The overall pattern here, there was at least one independent win at county assembly level, indicating that under certain conditions, voters still opt for non-party candidates. What top leaders are saying, all right, William Ruto saying that the by-election wins for UDA as a resounding endorsement of the ruling coalition, declaring them a sign that UDA and allied parties are the parties to beat in 2027. And he also predicted an easy win or path to victory in the next general election for their camp. All right, Moses Wetangula has appealed for unity despite deepening political competition. Wetangula also congratulated all the winners and emphasized the need to protect national cohesion. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about this morning. I can already see some of the guests who are supposed to be joining us this morning already in the studio. Guess what? Get your sentiments in. Is what we've seen in the 2025 by-elections going to be the trend that we're going to witness in the 2027 general elections? Once we come back, we'll look at exactly what the top leaders across the country are saying about those results and ask those questions as we put this conversation into proper perspective. At Look Up TV across all your social media platforms. I am online at Kiange Simba. Good morning. See you on the other side of the break.
Taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Look Up, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
Na bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika. Na watasema hili, waseme lile, watasema hiki, na waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu wa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza liko na ria wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hao sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi man.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
I recall the doctor telling me that day, he said, "Sarah, I'm sorry about what happened to you, but you see, life happens. You would have to learn to work with your hands, depend on your hands more."
And today, if you're going through anything that you do not understand, just call on this name, Jesus, and he will save you.
I realized I loved music when I was about 7 or 8. I used to puff my cheeks and play the 12-bar blues. Like I'd walk around the house doing like...
Why do we need the Holy Spirit?
I mean, if you look at what Jesus said when he was leaving, he said he is going and that he will send the Holy Spirit as our helper.
So God knows everything since the end, from the beginning, has a plan for your life. So to find that plan for your life, you must find God. When you find God, you will know the path for your life.
How easy is it for you to forgive someone who has hurt you?
How easy is it?
What are some tips, a person can apply to improve their public speaking skills?
We all have personality lazy somewhere around us.
In my mind, whenever I'm invited for a public speaking event, I don't like to put a lot of, accessories or too many colors.
What are the major things to look out when choosing a school for a child?
Another cheesy conversation starter is, men do this a lot. Men look familiar. Have we met before?
Oh. We met it. Nobody is buying that line again.
No, we don't. We don't buy it anymore.
Do you need a dose of hope? If so, you are in the right place. We think of ourselves around here as hope dealers, delivering truth, power, and inspiration to hearts and minds all over the world. If nothing else has worked for you, why not give the God thing a try? For it's in the presence of God that you'll find everything that you need. Amen.
Taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Lookup, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
Maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
Na bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika. Na watasema hili, waseme lile, watasema hiki, na waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu wa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza liko na ria wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hao sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi man.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
recall the doctor telling me that day, he said, Sarah, I'm sorry about what happened to you, but you see, life happens. You would have to learn to work with your hands, depend on your hands more.
And today, if you're going through anything that you do not understand, just call on this name, Jesus, and he will save you.
I realized I loved music when I was about 7 or 8. I used to puff my cheeks and play the 12-bar blues. Like I'd walk around the house doing like...
Why do we need the Holy Spirit?
I mean, if you look at what Jesus said when he was leaving, he said he is going and that he will send the Holy Spirit as our helper.
So God knows everything since the end, from the beginning, has a plan for your life. So to find that plan for your life, you must find God. When you find God, you will know the path for your life.
How easy is it for you to forgive someone who has hurt you?
How easy is it?
What are some tips, a person can apply to improve their public speaking skills?
We all have personality lazy somewhere around us.
In my mind, whenever I'm invited for a public speaking event, I don't like to put a lot of, accessories or too many colors.
What are the major things to look out when choosing a school for a child?
Another cheesy conversation starter is, men do this a lot. Men look familiar. Have we met before?
Oh.
No. We met in
Nobody's buying that line again.
No, we don't. We don't buy it anymore.
Save a Life is a non-profit organization that has taken the front line in transforming lives in the entire country. So far, we have transformed the life of over 100,000 people through our programs, which include medical support, youth empowerment, street family program, feeding program, and climate change. Join us today as we transform lives. As we always say, service to humanity is service to God. Save a life, transforming lives.
I recall the doctor telling me that day, he said, Sarah, I'm sorry about what happened to you, but you see, life happens. You would have to learn to work with your hands, depend on your hands more.
And today, if you're going through anything that you do not understand, just call on this name, Jesus, and he will save you.
I realized I loved music when I was about 7 or 8. I used to puff my cheeks and play the 12-bar blues. Like I'd walk around the house doing like...
Why do we need the Holy Spirit?
I mean, if you look at what Jesus said when he was leaving, he said he is going and that he will send the Holy Spirit as our helper.
So God knows everything since the end, from the beginning, has a plan for your life. So to find that plan for your life, you must find God. When you find God, you will know the path for your life.
There's so much to talk about when you go back and look at the by-election results. Overall, this is the analysis. Overall, when you look at the performance of the main parties that were at play in the by-elections. Overall, then, you would say that UDA emerged as the dominant force in multiple national and local seats. Now, ODM held onto its traditional strongholds, especially in its core regions, as across Western, Nyanza, and Coast. There was also at least one independent win at county assembly level, indicating that under certain conditions, voters still opt for non-party candidates. But it's just one, all right, out of the many political parties, independent candidates that we had. Now, let's look at some of the major comments from the top leaders across the country. William Ruto, all right, is saying that the by-election wins for UDA and its allies were a powerful reminder that unity under the broad-based government resonates with Kenyans. Cherargei was saying the results were a resounding endorsement of the ruling coalition, declaring them as a sign that UDA and allied parties are the parties to beat in 2027. He also predicted an easy path to victory in the next general election for their camp, which we know is UDA. Moses Wetangula, he appealed for unity despite deepening political competition. Wetangula congratulated all winners and emphasized on the need to protect national cohesion. That's exactly where we are as pertains the by-election results. Now, if you can, Edgar, Director, this morning, can you take us back to the Daily Nation this morning before I introduce the guest who's joining us in the studio then to talk about what this means for the elections and at 2027, because that headline by the Daily Nation right here will tell us exactly where we are as parties as pertains that trend for 2027. We're going to make sense of it, and this is exactly what it's saying. By-elections fallout, double standards are the question that the Daily Nation is asking this morning. Now, top politicians who backed rival candidates in the just concluded by-elections are facing disciplinary action, including potential removal from party and parliamentary leadership positions. Sources in the broad-based government team of ODM, Kenya Kwanza, and reveals plans to reorganize parliamentary leaderships to reflect the current political realignments. And that story, by the way, has been covered on page 4 of the Daily Nation. Good. Joining us this morning, we do expect to have this conversation all the way then for the next couple minutes. We're ready to have Japheth Ombui, who's the president, Kabila La Vijana. Mr. Ombui, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Happy to have you around. We're also expecting Thomas Ogendo, who's a political analyst, to join us in the studio. He tells me he's been involved in an accident at James Gishuru, so hopefully he clears that as fast as he can so that he can join us in this conversation as well. Now, before then, we start this morning. Rigathi Gachagua has been speaking as well, and he was at Kariobangi this Sunday. In his church where he was, there was already an incident that we've spoken about this morning, but then he had clear sentiments about how his party and the plans for his party as well, or in the united opposition. Let's listen to him, come back, introduce the subject, then crunch it down with Mr. Mbui this morning. Let's take a listen.
Kila siku ukipanga wahuni kupiga viongozi, kupiga wananchi, ndio hii jamii inakuchukia zaidi kuliko vile imekuchukia. Kushauri amekupoteza. Ati wewe ukifikiria ati hii jamii utaihangaisha, utaipiga ati ndio ikukubali, ni wakati wako unapoteza. Mimi niseme watu ya Kariobangi, asanteni sana. DCP is a party for Nairobi, na hii ndio chanzo ya siasa yetu hapa Nairobi, na sisi tumepangana vizuri na kiongozi wa Wiper ambaye ndiye amekuwa akisaidia ODM hapa Nairobi. Tumekubaliana kiti cha gavana kitachukuliwa na DCP. Kiti cha seneta kitachukuliwa na DCP. Kiti cha women rep kitachukuliwa na DCP. Tumekubaliana na Wiper kati ya viti 17 kati ya DCP na Wiper tutachukua viti 16, na kati ya viti 85 ya ward between DCP and Wiper tutachukua 75. Kwa hivyo watu wetu, msitishwe, msihangaishwe, muvumilie. Utiribulete kagate na msijali maneno ya mbele. DCP haikuwa na candidate mbele. DCP ilikuwa na candidate Kariobangi North, tukashinda. Narok Town tukashinda. Kiza East tukashinda. Purko tukashindwa kidogo na Magarini. Chama ambaye ni ya mwezi 7 imechukua viti 3 out of 5. Nimeona maanalisti ya magazeti wakifanya mambo mingi, hawaongei mambo ya ushindi ya Nairobi, hawaongei mambo ya Narok, hawaongei mambo ya Kisa, wanaongea mambo ya Mbere. Mbere mimi nilienda kusaidia DP na wakashinda, wakaibiwa na ni sawa. Lakini sisi we focus on our party, the DCP. Na hapa Nairobi tunataka sasa DCP ivume. Huu ushindi wa Kariobangi North ndio chanzo ya safari ya DCP katika Nairobi. Hapa Kariobangi tulishinda UDA, walikuwa namba 4. Narok tulishinda UDA. Kiza East tulishinda UDA na ODM. Hiyo waongei. Na niseme hapa Nairobi, wale wafuasi walikuwa wa UDA, wale walipigia William Ruto, hawakuwa wafuasi wa William Ruto, walikuwa wafuasi wa Rigiji. Na Rigiji ameondoka na hiyo wafuasi wa
You and I spoke last week about what you thought was going to be the outlook of this by-elections. We looked at it, and then you were quite convinced that UDA was going to clinch the Mbere North seat. I don't know whether you're going to look at the numbers, because there was a marginal difference in the numbers between the UDA candidate and the DP candidate. But then I'm looking at the notes of, because I wanted to start to begin from there. I'm looking at the notes of Rigathi Gachagua, and you can hear that presentation. He's saying, look here, DCP party did not have a candidate in Mbere North. This is a party that has been in existence for only 7 months and is convinced elections were stolen in that area. So chances are, from what he's saying, that they are still the victors in that particular constituency. How do you respond to Rigathi Gachagua this morning?
First of all, thank you, Simba, for having me here today. I remember the last time we were here, I told you, in fact, I predicted all the by-elections, and I told you the broad-based government is going to win all major by-elections, that is the constituency level.
Yes.
And in fact, I told you the seat that I felt DCP will win was the Narok East seat, and that's what exactly that happened. For Rigathi Gachagua, the DCP party leader, that is him. You know, we don't expect Rigathi Gachagua to say anything rather than what he has just said, what he said yesterday. With the Mbere North, I remember last time when we had this discussion, I said, we want to know how many votes are we going to subtract from the 7 million that Rigathi Gachagua normally claimed that he has in his pocket. Remember, he told us that from the previous election, he had 7.2 million votes, and the 7 million votes came from the mountain, and he assured Kalonzo Musyoka that when they are going on the table, for him, he is sure of 7 million votes. And the question I begged last time was, how many votes are we going to subtract from the 7 million votes?
Yes.
And by history, you will realize that in Mbere North election, the margin has always been. In fact, this is the first time we're having a larger margin of 500, I think 500 votes. Initially it has been 100 and something, 200 votes from the winner and the first runners-up. This is the first time we're having at least a much larger margin, if you look at the history in North Mbere. Justin Muturi, when he ran for the seat, he won by a margin of around 168 votes.
Yes.
CS Roku, when he ran for the same seat, he won with a margin of around 200 and something votes. So this is the first time we're having that margin. But all said and done, the question is Mulima still in Rigathi Gachagua's pocket? That's the question. Does Rigathi Gachagua control the mountain politics as he claims? That's the question.
Does he?
He doesn't.
Before you answer that question, let me give you this breakdown of where we are in that result, because it's counting across. Because what you won, let me just go back to exactly what you clinched. What you won, if you look at the UDA seats, I mean across the country where the by-elections were getting done, you would say Vincent Temitai won the Senate seat in Baringo. Leonard Leo Wamuthende won the Mbere North Parliamentary seat. All right, David Ndakwa won the Malava Parliamentary seat. Hamad Malim Hassan won the Banisa Parliamentary seat. UDA also picked up multiple county assembly ward seats across various counties, including in the northern and rural areas. This one seat that has been clinched in Mbere North, is it enough for you to substantiate the claim that he doesn't control that region, going by how small the difference was?
You know, Simba, the reason why Mbere North is more important and forms the basis of our discussion is because of the allegations that were being made by one Rigathi Gachagua. Immediately after his impeachment, he said that the mountain will not and will never support William Samoei Ruto. He will not get even a single vote. And do you know what William Ruto did? He went to the mountain, and you remember allegations that were laid about the President William Samoei Ruto by J.B. Muturi.
Yes.
After he was fired from his position as the Attorney General. In fact, what he said is President William Ruto is incompetent. He has lost touch with the ground. And President William Ruto, what he did, he went to Mbere North, where J.B. Muturi comes from, appointed J.B. Muturi's Member of Parliament to replace him in his docket as the CS Public Service.
Yes.
Which led to the by-election in his constituency, where he was a member of Parliament. And mark you, Ruku was the only elected member of Parliament in J.B. Muturi's party, DP. He told me, J.B. Muturi, okay, I'm incompetent, let me bring the ball to your doors. Took the by-election there. With the help of the Mount Kenya kingpin, who is Rigathi Gachagua, as what he says, we expected UDN not to get even 5,000 votes.
Yes.
And let me tell you, even if Leo Wamuthende had gotten 2,000 votes, that was a plus to UDA, because what we expected was UDA candidate not to get any vote from Mount Kenya.
Yes.
The North Mbere election and the votes that the UDA candidate got might not be enough for us to say that UDA still has the ground. In one of the interviews that I had this morning, I said this, and this is my take. I've always said this, that UDA and William Ruto have lost the popularity that they had in the previous election. Mm-hmm. But the question that I put across is, okay, William Ruto is so unpopular. The UDA party is so unpopular. But who is this alternative? Who is this man that we can elect or we can replace William Ruto with? Who is this man that is ready? The only person that we expected to challenge William Samoei Ruto and to deal with the Ruto was the late Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. But with this politician that we're having, Rigathi Gachagua, led by Rigathi Gachagua, I don't see any competition.
Yes, pretty much. Now, I want us to cast our eyes on what we have here this morning on the Daily Nation as well. There's a proper headline here that the Daily Nation has given to us this morning. It's talking about the by-elections fallout. Remember, what we're looking at is just the trends then that we are going to observe as we get into the 2027 general elections. I mean, they've listed a couple of leaders from the broad-based government, and they've said, well, these guys, that their proper word, that their parties want to get into disciplinary action because of who they supported in this by-elections. I will start with what we have in UDA, because it's the party of conversation this morning. We have Kakamega Senator Boni Khalwale, who backed DAPK man in Malava, said this was his friend and brother. He could have supported any other person. UDA, Nyali Member of Parliament, also backed DCP candidate in the Magarini by-election. Fort Kenya, Kabuchai Member of Parliament Majimbo Kalasinga, who supported independent MCA candidate in his constituency, and DAPK, Kakamega Deputy Governor Ayub Savula rooted for UDA candidate in Malava by-election. If we were talking about these trends, and these parties are now saying that if you did support any other person other than the candidates of the broad-based government conversation, that you need to face disciplinary action. In fact, some of them are saying that if you are a leader within these parties, then that position instantly goes. Do you agree, Mr. Mbui, on this one? And who do you think is pushing for this conversation of punishing leaders within the parties who didn't support members that deemed to get support from the broad-based conversation?
You know, Simba, all this is about politics. And remember, for you to be a leader in this country, there's only one process. You must be a politician, and you must be very smart in playing your politics. Those who are supporting members from different political parties, yet they belong to broad-based government.
Yes.
From where I sit, they had their own reasons. And we all know that Boni Khalwale wants to run for governorship in Kakamega. And he knows that the current governor from Kakamega, Fernandez Baraza, enjoys the broad-based government support. He knows he won't be given a ticket, a direct ticket from UDA, because there is an arrangement, a broad-based arrangement that might favor Fernandez Baraza. Remember, Fernandez Baraza is a governor for one term. I think this is the first time, the first term that he's in office. So the chances are he might get a direct ticket from the broad-based government. If you look at Savula, the DAP Kenya deputy party leader,
yes,
who is the deputy to Fernandez Baraza, knows very well that his candidate might get a direct ticket. So he's playing safe so as to remain the deputy governor of Kakamega. That's why he supported the UDA candidate. If you look at someone like the member of parliament of, is it Chwele constituency from Bungoma?
Yes.
The man has been openly criticizing the party leader, the Ford Kenya party leader, who is the Speaker of the National Assembly, though there is a discussion about why he played active in politics, and yet the Constitution does not allow him as a Speaker to participate in an election. So if you look at what is happening, to me, and the disciplinary actions that are, I think they were suggested by the Secretary General of UDA party, is the one who came out and said, look, we had our members who were campaigning for other candidates.
Yes.
A disciplinary action is an option on the table.
Yes.
To me, all these are politics. And William Ruto, the man I know, is one very smart politician. And he might want again to test the ground using the same people. He might go to Kakamega and say, look, you are the senator here, we gave you a position in our political party, you've gone against it, let us go back to the people and see how strong you are. So he might use it again to test his popularity in Kakamega County. Remember, Western Kenya is the only area that voted, I think, almost all political parties, except their own political party. Remember, there is no DAP candidate who was elected in any by-election in Western Kenya. So the president might again take back the battle to Western Kenya. So it's all about politics.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Guess what? I want us to take a tiny breather on Boy this morning. Also get in touch with Thomas, see exactly where it's gotten this morning. But once we come back, there's something that we've observed in the way the patterns have played out. Because generally, when you look at these patterns, you would say that ODM essentially won in areas that you would have expected them to win. UDA clinched those positions in areas that you would have expected them to win as well. Now, there's some analysts that we've been listening to over the entire weekend, that the elections are a wake-up call to the parties that think that they enjoy popularity, that they do not. That the patterns still remain the same, and if an election was to be held today, a general election, the patterns that we saw in a 2022 might just as well be the ones that we're going to observe in 2027. But members within the ODM have been speaking, and also those ones out of ODM have been speaking as well. Once we come back, we'll listen to some of them and also weigh in on what they mean as we get ready for 2027 general election, drawing lessons from the by-elections that have just been concluded. Once we come back right here on The Morning Drift.
Taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Lookup, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
Maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
Na bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika. Na watasema hili, waseme lile, watasema hiki, na waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu wa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza liko na ria wasa wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hawa sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi man.
Mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
I recall the doctor telling me that day, he said, Sarah, I'm sorry about what happened to you, but you see, life happens. You would have to learn to work with your hands, depend on your hands more.
And today, if you're going through anything that you do not understand, just call on this name, Jesus, and he will save you.
I realized I love music when I was about 7 or 8. I used to puff my cheeks and play the 12-bar blues. Like I'd walk around the house doing like...
Why do we need the Holy Spirit?
I mean, if you look at what Jesus said when he was leaving, he said he is going and that he will send the Holy Spirit as our helper.
So God knows everything since the end, from the beginning, has a plan for your life. So to find that plan for your life, you must find God. When you find God, you will know the path for your life.
Welcome back to the Morning Drift. Yes, the conversations are still going on, and this are some of the reactions of top leadership in the country as pertains the trends that we saw in the 2025 by-elections. So this weekend, Otiende Amolo has been speaking, and sort of in reaction to the news that while parties were getting ready to get their members into disciplinary action, depending on which side you supported in this election. But there's a message that some members of ODM have been passing across from time to time, that any negotiation in this broad-based government conversation was only taking their party members to 2027, nothing beyond that. So let's listen into what Otendamolo spoke this weekend, come back and talk about it this morning.
People who even Raila never spoke to are saying Raila told me this in private. Raila told me this. The only thing that you can believe is what Raila spoke in public, not what somebody came and said he told me in my ears. And the only thing Raila said is that we will be in this government up to 2027. Beyond 2027, it is us who are still alive to determine. Hello? Nobody can come and tell us that Raila said beyond 2027, we are still with Ruto. No. We can or we cannot be. Oluorego depend. Awaj kozuki kawaj. Okuche ni ya serikali ni molowa. One di cabinet secretary zadi. Okuche ni gaboro. One the principal secretaries, more include Nyakawodo Kelaka Angwe. Okuche ni gapar gario.
That is Otendamolo speaking this weekend on exactly what it means then for the broad-based government conversations. But then here's the thing. Let's look at this analysis that we've seen from this election, that when it comes to, and I'm saying in quotes, Mr. Mui, because the broad-based government candidates, they were the majority in this by-election.
Yeah.
You would say they scooped more than 90% of it. Would it be correct to say then that the broad-based government conversation resonates with majority of Kenyans going by these numbers that we saw in these by-elections?
Kenyan politics are so funny. Let me tell you one thing. When the real campaigns begin,
yes,
every region will drift back to its base. There's nothing like the popularity of the broad-based or resonating with the majority of the Kenyans.
Mm-hmm.
What I know with how Kenyan politics are based is that they are regionally based. And when the real politics begin, everyone drifts back to his region. And that's why I always say that as much as we say William Ruto is not popular, but when it comes to election, his region is where you'll go back. Remember, William Ruto with Gideon Moi have never seen each other, but the other time you saw, he called Gideon Moi, told him, you know what, if you compete with the men in Baringo, I lose, it's going to create a bad picture. Allow me take this seat as a brother from home. And they agreed. So what I can say, as much as the broad-based government got almost 90% of the seats that we had in these by-elections.
Yes.
What will determine the next president in 2027 is the organization of the coalitions. If the opposition, you know, we can't again, we can't as well ignore people like Kalonzo Musyoka. We can't ignore Fred Matiang'i. These are genuine candidates, and these are people, if well organized, they can amount a very serious challenge to the president. But the question is, who is more organized? And remember, William Ruto now has the state machineries. He enjoys power. He is the president. He has the resources, enough resources, as compared to the last elections. So for me, this election is not going to be won by the popularity of a candidate, but it's going to be won by how organized a candidate is.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you listen to what Otendamolo is saying this morning, I mean, here we are talking about broad-based government candidates, and you can see that headline from the Daily Nation this morning is that if you look at UDA members who did support candidates from other parties like DCP, they've been earmarked. ODM candidates who did support other parties other than UDA and ODM, they've been earmarked as well for disciplinary action. Why is it that up to now, even after going to by-elections, that you have members within the ODM, and those are top leaders within the ODM, who are still saying, look here, we are not in this broad-based government conversation beyond 2027, that this conversation was supposed to take us into 2027, nothing beyond 2027. Does that bed well with...
No, you know, Simba, if they come up open and start supporting the government, what will be their bargaining in 2027?
I mean, when members of parliament, like Otienda Molo, stand and says, who told you that we'll be there? We might be there, we might not be there. But here we are in this election, the outlook the majority of people want to see, and within UDA and ODM, those ones are supporting this conversation, is that it's because of this broad-based government conversation. That's why we've clinched more than 90% of the seats. Will that work against them right now?
You know, from where I sit, and I've been following the ODM politics since the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga was alive. This is the typical way ODM does its politics.
Yes.
If you look at what happened during the Kibaki time when Raila was kicked out, you realize that those people, in fact, we had some who are opposing the government during the handshake and some who are not. What they're trying to do, they're trying to manage their politics so that they have a stake when it comes to bargaining on the table.
Yes.
I don't know whether it is the same Otienda Molo in one of the media stations. He said that if we come openly and we all agree to support the government, then what are we going to take on the table and negotiate with the government and tell them, look, if we don't get this, we are not going to support you. We have to increase our stake. Yes. We have to have something to bargain for. And Otienda Molo is very right when he says that they've got only two cabinet secretaries from the region. And remember, Otienda Molo is not speaking from the ODM perspective. He's speaking from the Luo nation's perspective. That, look, we've got only two Luo cabinet secretaries. We've got only few principal secretaries. Yes. And yet we say we're in government. What about other regions that have got almost half of the cabinet secretaries? So he's speaking from the Luo perspective. But when we look at the ODM, the whole ODM, we've got Joho in the cabinet, we've got Oparanya in the government, we've got so many lawyers who are serving the government. We've got other cabinet secretaries from the coastal region. Inafikirina still working with the broad-based government. But what I'm trying to see, what's going to play out more so in ODM, that we are going to have small kingpins, small leaders emerging from within ODM, leading the regions to negotiate with the government or to negotiate with the opposition, depending where their stake will be high.
Yes, pretty much. Let's look at another issue that we've also observed in this by-elections. Independent candidates. I mean, when we're looking at the number of independent candidates that we did have, there were so many in these by-elections. Good. But when you look at those who won, I mean, you would find one, and this was Eric Watesa, who won the MCA seat in Kabuchai, all right, Chole Ward, which essentially showed room for non-mainstream winners. When we look at this by-elections, it looks as if it's either you belong to a party or you don't, and if you belong to a party and these mainstream parties, then your chances of winning are high. What does that state about party loyalism at a time when it's either DCP, UDA, ODM, or whether you are broad-based candidate or not?
You know, I was having the same conversation over the weekend with a friend, and we were laughing, saying that if you want to make money in these by-elections, when a by-election is called, make sure you belong to any of these major political parties, because you will enjoy resources from the party.
Yes.
Your party leader will want to make a statement using you in your area, so they'll make sure they've given you all the resources they want.
Yes.
Unlike the general elections. You know, any candidate who vied under the independent ticket lost because of the resources. And if you look at the independent candidate from Chwele ward who won, in fact, his ticket was independent, but majorly, those people who were campaigning for him were the DAP Kenya. In fact, the United Oppositions were behind the independent candidate in Chwele. Remember, in Chwele constituency, the independent candidate was formerly the Ford Kenya candidate. And things happened in between. They took a ticket from him, gave it to a different person. So the opposition, when the opposition saw what has happened, they ran to the independent candidate. And that's how the independent candidate got enough resources, enough support from the DAP Kenya party, from the DCP party, and from the Wiper party to campaign in Chwele.
Yes.
But when it comes to general elections are very different from by-elections. In general elections, remember, it's everyone campaigning and using their own resources. In the last election, I had a candidate running in Dagoretti North. We expected to get support from the party, but I came to realize that mostly nowadays, it's you supporting the party more than the party supporting you when it comes to general elections. The party relies on you to campaign for their presidential candidate using your own resources. So that's why you'll get in most general elections, we've got more independent candidates being elected as compared to most by-elections that have ever happened in this country.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Now, another area that we got to talk about is just, you've seen parties now are putting their plans in action. We really haven't known what the UDA party's plans are in the coming election because of these conversations of broad-based government, which majority of members of parliament within and outside are also saying yes or no to. But let's talk about DCP party, which, as you can hear Rigathi Gachagua saying, is a party that has been in action for only 7 months. And in this election, they've clinched, in this by-election, they've clinched 3 top positions across the country. It's coming to say, you see, we've been in action for only 7 months, and you can see how much we pushed. And he's saying that even in Barre North, we didn't have our candidate. For him, he's saying that that's a major factor in how that election turned out. Would you say that DCP not having its candidate in Barre North must have been a factor probably in the votes not going Rigathi Gachagua's way?
No. Simba, you know, if you follow the Rigathi Gachagua's politics, and I always tell people, if there is one enemy of the opposition, it's one Rigathi Gachagua. And if there is one person who's campaigning for William Ruto more than any other person, is Rigathi Gachagua. You even remember the utterances that he made yesterday in a church service that Nairobi politics belong to the Kikuyus.
Yes.
In fact, he went far to say that he has an agreement in place with Kalonzo Musyoka that the Nairobi governorship must belong to the mountain, the women rep position, the Senate position, and 78 MCA positions.
Yes.
All are going to Mount Kenya people.
In fact, we're going to talk about that next.
Yeah. Now, the question I put across is, then what happens to people like Babu Wino? What happens to people like Senator Sifuna, who from far, if you look at their body language, they're drifting towards the opposition. Now, what happens to someone like Babu Wino who wants to be the governor of Nairobi County, if then that position has been preserved for someone from the mountain? DCP as a party, I can say, as much as it won 3 seats, is not as strong as people are saying. And in fact, they might end up losing even those positions that they're having.
Yes.
If you look at the body language of most leaders from the Mount Kenya, there are very few who are supporting Rigathi Gachagua's party. Very few. In fact, if we dig deeper, we'll realize that the elected leaders from the Mount Kenya who are supporting DCP are not even more than 5. It's Methu, the Karungo Wadhongo, the senator for, I don't know, is it Muranga?
Yes.
And I think the Mukunji from Embu. But if you look at all these other elected leaders, majority of them are just quiet. And that one speaks a lot. If you look at the Kiambu governor, who hosted the president over the weekend, so quiet when it comes to matters of DCP politics or the Mount Kenya politics. You look at someone like Ndindi Nyoro is so silent when it comes to politics of the mountain. You look at Moses Kuria had even a candidate in Mbeere North against the DP candidate who was supported by the opposition. So for me, the real test for DCP is in the general election, not the by-election.
Not the by-election.
Yeah.
Yes.
The factors that led to the DCP candidate winning in Kisa East, if you remember the politics behind Kisa East politics, you realize that the factors that led to the DCP candidate winning. After the withdrawal, there is a young man who withdrew and never ended, who was the favorite in Kisa East. So they were left with no choice. Remember, there was a war between Malala and Natembeya about dropping the DCP candidate and remaining with the DAP candidate, because the DAP candidate who the party had given the ticket was not even a resident in Kisa East. So there was those politics of we can't elect an outsider to be an MCA in Kisa East. So they had an option but to elect a DCP candidate who was a resident. If you look at Masikonde from Narok East, Masikonde was a UDA candidate. And I don't know what happened, that there was a relationship issue between Masikonde and the governor. When the governor started supporting the government, there were so many politics, and that's how Masikonde gained popularity. Yes. So what DCP got right in Narok East is that they went for the candidate who was the candidate for the people. So Masikonde will have vied with any political party and still win, even an independent, via an independent candidate. Masikonde was strong on the ground. So what the DCP did, they went for the right candidate, not that they campaigned for an unknown person to win the seat.
Yes.
If you look at the UDA candidate in Mbeere North, Lawa Mutenda was not the favorite. In fact, the favorite candidate in North Mbeere was Mbui, who ran with the CCK, Chama cha Kazi, the party for Moses Kuria.
That's it.
Mbui was the favorite, followed by Karis. Now, what happened is that when Mbui, in fact, Mbui was supposed to run with the DCP party. Remember the story of the united opposition fronting one candidate. Instead of dropping the unpopular candidate, they dropped the popular candidate for the unpopular candidate. That's how they lost the Mbeere North seat. So the real politics, the by-elections were just a statement by the government telling the opposition, look, as much as we are unpopular, as you say,
yes,
as much as you sing one term, as you say, when it comes to voting, it's about organization. And remember, William Ruto warned them and told them, the only agenda you people having is one term, Ruto must go and blah, blah, all those stories. If you can't have real agenda and sell to the people and organize yourselves, still I'll beat you. That's the statement that these by-elections are saying to the opposition, that they needed to reorganize.
Yes.
And in fact, one thing that we must not ignore in this by-election, if there is one person, opposition principal, who has come out to be a very strong and someone who means business, is Fred Matiang'i. If you look at how these by-elections went. In fact, despite that he didn't have a Jubilee candidate, a direct Jubilee candidate from his region, he won all seats in all by-elections that were held in Kisii Nyanza. He's the only principal who delivered. And if you look at the margin of his candidates,
yes,
and the government candidate, it sends a shockwave across the broad-based government.
That's it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So let's look at another issue then that we've just mentioned this morning. The DCP party, through Rigathi Gachagua, has announced that, well, they've gotten into an agreement with one Kalonzo Musyoka to take over Nairobi. That is from senator, governor, woman representative, and many seats on members of the county assembly. Let's look at this plan. I mean, for you, when you look at this plan, and this is what Rigathi Gachagua is presenting as the action plan for 2027, what do you see the weakness of this plan?
The plan is dead on arrival. Look at since the evolution, since the promulgation of the new constitution.
Yes.
The first governor of Nairobi was Evans Kidero. The second governor was Mike Sonko.
That's it.
We have Sakaja. Have you seen anybody from the mountain? The running mate to Kidero was not even a Kikuyu. The running mate to Mike Sonko was a Kikuyu, yeah, but if you look at his life, he has never been even in politics. In fact, he was the candidate in the last election, and he lost. And if you look at the current deputy governor, who is also from Central, he has no political history. Someone who was picked from outside and brought in. He has no political history. Anytime we've had a Kikuyu candidate in the ballot, he has never won the Nairobi seat.
Yes.
Number two, if you look at the senators who have served in Nairobi County, we've never seen someone from the mountain. In fact, the Nairobi politics, if you look at the political party that has always been controlling the Nairobi politics, it has been ODM. ODM has always been controlling, and any candidate, government candidate who has won the Nairobi seat has always gone back to Baba and told Baba to anchor his leadership in Nairobi, because Nairobi, number one, is a cosmopolitan. Number two, majority of the Nairobians are not from the mountain. We can't assume that since the eastern side of Nairobi has majority of the Kikuyus, then the ones to decide who will be the leader. What do you mean when you say that you want to control 78 members of county assembly out of 85? So you are leaving only around 7 seats for the other tribes. And that's why I always say that is the only weakness that the opposition has, is one regarding Gachagua. Is the weakness that the opposition has. And that is where the government is going to capitalize to ensure that the opposition gets nothing from Nairobi County. And for the first time, if they're not careful, and I want to urge my good friend and someone that I support, Baba Owino, if he really wants to win the governorship in Nairobi, though I don't support him to run for governorship. You know, Baba Owino has got potential to become even a president of this country. And we have seen what the governorship has done to majority of the good leaders that we had. It messed with Mike Sonko. It messed with the Kidero. It's now messing with the Sakaja. So even Sakaja might even lose that popularity that he once enjoyed. Yeah. So if Baba Owino wins this seat, there are chances that he might lose even the popularity that he has. So I urge him to drop his ambition on governorship and wait for 2032. We give him the ticket to run for presidency in this country. He has the potential.
Pretty much. So let's look at the final part of our conversation this morning. I mean, going by this trend for the by-elections 2025, in the top parties in the country, we already do know that some alliances have formed already, and we know they're going to keep on morphing all the way to 2027. Who needs to work harder and why?
For me, I think the opposition needs to work. No, the opposition has worked hard, but they have not worked smart. The broad-based government needs to work extra harder when it comes to its popularity. Simba, the fact is, President William Ruto's popularity has gone down. That's the fact. The fact is, after the demise of the late Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, the broad-based government was shaken.
Yes.
And it might not enjoy the support that it might have enjoyed if Raila had not died. So President William Ruto needs to work extra more harder. And if you look at the by-elections are a reflection of the hard working that we needed to see frequently from the government side. In Mbere, if it were not them working hard, the opposition would have taken the seat. If you look at Malava, what was happening? The difference between the government and the opposition is working smart. The opposition lack smartness in the organization, while the government is working extra harder. You know, the opposition is facing someone who knows he has lost the popularity. Remember, the president enjoys information from the NIS every morning. He gets intelligence on what people are saying on the ground. So he knows very well that I've lost the popularity, but I need to do 1, 2, 3 for me to achieve. to get re-elected. And here we're having an opposition that assumes, since the Gen Zs, there is a revolution with the Gen Zs, we will get the automatic support from the Gen Zs.
Yes.
And they go back, relax, they lose it.
Final part this morning, and I know we touched on it, and I want to take 45 seconds really to look into it, that generally, again, across these by-elections, the Gen Zs and young people never turned out to vote. Is that going to be a trend again that we're going to see in 2027, Mr. Mbui?
I want to urge young people. It's a trend. If you look at the last election, the same happened.
Yes.
I remember we ran, as Kabela Vijana, we ran a campaign of young people getting registered as voters. This year we had a campaign of Wacha Ujinga Chukua Kura. And what I've come to realize with the young people, I think the culture of handouts has affected our people. That they won't participate in their democratic right until someone chips in. It's only when an aspirant will pay you and transport you to an IB's office, that's when we'll take a vote. And I've seen it working. Even up to last week, I saw some young men mobilizing that they want to visit a certain leader somewhere, so that they promise him they are going to take votes. It transports them and pays them something. And what I came to realize as well with young people is that there's this story of sisi tutalinda kura. Sisi tutachunga kura. You want to linda kura that you have not voted. So you find most of them are evolving around aspirants and candidates instead of going to vote for those candidates. That's why I always tell these politicians, most politicians who are enjoying support from most youths don't win elections.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't win elections. Why? Because these same youths don't go and vote. Instead, they evolve around it, saying women security and Mheshimiwa without voting. You saw what was happening with Baba in Kibra. Yeah, that's the same thing they did. So in the next election, whoever will rely on youth votes might lose it. You saw in North Mbera and Malava, most voters, and in Magarini, most voters were all women.
That's
and
it.
all.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen in the next election.
That's it. Oof. Not good. Mr. Boy, thank you very much for coming this morning.
Thank you.
Guess what? We were supposed to have a debate this morning. Just look at exactly what both sides are talking about this election. But unfortunately, one Thomas was involved in an accident this morning. I hope everything is okay. Currently, and I'll read his message this morning. Then as we step out, he's telling me, pass my sincere apologies to Mr. Mbui and the family of Lookup TV. I've just cleared right now from Mudangari police station. I might not be able to make it into the studio this morning. We do accept your apology, Thomas. We'll meet you again for another conversation. That's us this morning. You can take Mr. Mbui back to the time that he joined us this morning at Lookup TV across all your social media platforms. I am Akia Gasimba. I'll see you tomorrow for another conversation. Good morning and goodbye.